I give the same advice that you give, right? But then like there's a pushback to that, right? Because
Hmm.
not everyone, in theory, not everyone can make the highest stakes because then like all the regs will be playing the highest stakes, and then there will be nobody playing 50s for it. And at some point, it will be more of a chip EV or more of an hourly even just to play lower stakes, right? So
True.
there's that as well. So
That's
watching
still
this,
true now, by the way. Even high
it's
stakes,
always
a lot
true.
of high stakes players now should drop down stakes to play
Yeah. So sometimes like
better games.
if too
Yeah.
many people take this high route, let's call it,
Hmm.
then the games at 100 suck, and then 50s and 20s is a higher hourly. So the thing is, so there's something weird with that too. So not everyone can make the highest stakes. That's just the truth, right? So
Hmm.
now thinking from that perspective, now you got to really ask yourself if you actually want to make the highest stakes and stay there. You know, poker really has to be your number one priority in life to
Hmm.
get there. Now to stay there, once you're there and to stay there, it's like you go in like maintenance mode. But you really have to. Um, it's hard to get to the highest stakes. It's not an easy feat. Like it's just it takes
Hmm.
years, right? Like it takes years. It took you years. It took me years. It takes everyone years to get to the highest stakes and perform well there. So if you're watching this, you really got to ask yourself: am I willing to put in like all the hours of studying and learning to be better than everyone else, and to get to the highest stakes and sacrifice my hourly for years, let's say for example, or do I have other priorities? Do I have a family? Do I have other hobbies in life, a social life that takes more of a priority than poker or this and that? So those are questions as well. So the thing is, we try to um, give advice that we would follow ourselves. So we would tell people like, obviously like that should be the goal to get the high stakes, but realistically, that's not going to happen for everybody, or not even close to everybody. Most people are not going to get there. So
Hmm.
for these people that are not going to get there, let's focus on that group. For the people that are just not going to get there because
Hmm.
let's say whatever their life circumstances are, they might have some young children, maybe they have like a thriving social life, maybe they're focused more on going to the gym and eating healthier or whatever it may be. Like maybe
Hmm.
poker's like a second or third priority, let's call it. For those people now, let's talk about those people.
Yeah,
Should
sure.
they maximize for chip EV, or should they maximize for hourly? And does personality again come into play? Let's just say moving up in stakes is not a thing. Let's just say that.
Okay, sure.
Like starting from there, what would you say? Maximize chip EV hourly, and does personality influence
I
this?
would say entirely dependent on personality at this point. If
Okay.
we disregard moving up, if we disregard life circumstances, okay? So just in a vacuum, if it's a
Mm-hmm.
decision between Chippy V and hourly, this is wholly personality based. And I would put myself in the Chippy V category
Mm-hmm.
at this point here.
And so let's
And
talk
I
about
can,
why. Let's talk about why. Like why would you, like, let's say, why would you put yourself in a chip EV like section, and then like why would someone else put themselves in an hourly section? Like what are some good reasons for that? Like for example,
okay.
or mindset
So
reasons, or whatever.
So one of the reasons is longevity. So the player who puts in the more volume is going to make more money in the short term, but risks losing their position in the long term. Presumably, we're keeping dropping stakes or quitting poker in the mix here.
Sure, sure.
The person who prioritizes hourly is someone who is looking to make more money in the short term and is more willing to risk their long term position within those games. Because the player who prioritizes Chippy V is more than likely going to be the player who performs well over a long period of time, is going to be the player that learns the most. Because, for example, if you're maximizing hourly, you're less likely to be paying attention in game, you're less likely to be making notes, and the player who's maximizing Chippy V is going to be doing those things. And so, in the long term, that player is going to at least stay in the games. Their position within the high stakes is more guaranteed than the player who's focusing the hourly. So there's the first thing is how long you aim to be in the game. Um, The second would be like your tolerance of variance. If you have a low tolerance for variance, you should probably play the higher volume. Sorry, yes. If you have no, the other way around. Forgive me. If you have a lower tolerance for variance, you should increase your chip EV. Because your swings are going to be higher. Invariably, if you maximize hourly over chip EV, your results are going to be worse. With worse results comes more variance. With more variance comes more tilt. If you've got a fairly fragile mental game, I would suggest going for the chip EV approach. That's not personally why I do it. The reason I do it is the first reason that I mentioned, and the third reason, which I'll bring up now, is your enjoyment of the game. Some people don't enjoy playing poker for a living. Some people don't enjoy grinding. That's just a fact. And for those people, maximizing your hourly is going to be much better than maximizing your chip EV because the enjoyment factor doesn't come into it. For other people, and this is where I put myself, I still enjoy playing poker. I still love the game. I don't always love it. I'd be lying if I said, "Oh, I love turning up to work every single day."
Anything you love is love hate. You know, anything you love is love hate always.
Sometimes can't fucking stand poker if I'm honest, but overall, I still love poker. And for me, a lot of the love of the game comes from the creativity, the quality, really getting in deep and trying to solve those puzzles. And playing 10 to 12 tables doesn't really, for me, that's more of a mechanical approach. It's more just like playing a baseline strategy that I know wins, and it means I'm going to be passing off some spots on being creative, and the whole game just becomes a little bit of a blur to me. I know people who do really, really well playing mass tables. Some people are able to be super creative over mass tables as well. But it goes without saying, every player could be more creative if they played fewer tables. And if you get real enjoyment out of playing the game and you're not in a desperate hurry for money right now, I would suggest that would be your better approach. So I feel like I kind of lie somewhere in the middle, if I'm honest, but slightly more towards the chip EV side, just because I enjoy the game. And I really like getting deep and thinking about it. And I want to be a poker player for years to come. I don't want to lose my position. And so I focus on really prioritizing quality.
Right, yeah, because those guys that are focusing on hourly, if there's, let's say, like regs, let's say it's a $20 player focusing on hourly, the regs from 10s move up, and like if the reg to fish ratio gets worse, his hourly is probably going to go to shit. Whereas the chip EV guy, he's probably going to be
more
better
vulnerable,
off. Yeah, he's going to be, you're more vulnerable focusing on like the hourly and like mass tabling and stuff like that. And the chip EV guy is going to thrive at the end. But also there's another point, is that the chip EV player can probably play more hours, right? Like let's say like the hourly guy, if he's like 7 to 10 tabling, maybe after 4 hours he's completely burnt out. He's like, I'm finished. But the chip EV guy might go for 6 hours. So again, this becomes like a personality, lifestyle based thing. Let's say you have like a family and you have a couple of very young children that you got to take care of. Let's say you have a thriving social life. Let's say you live in a popping city. That guy might go for the hourly because he's like, I want to play 3 or 4 hours, right? And that's that.
Yeah.
For somebody else, they might be like, you know what? I'm willing to go the 6 or 7 hours, play at a high chip EV, and feel that there's a feeling of like safety when your chip EV is really high. That like you're like, you know what? I'm crushing these games. But when you're going for the hourly, there's that kind of like you're taking like those small edges, and like it's vulnerable because you're just like, oh, if a couple of more regs get in these games and like the fish dry up, I'm gonna be out of here. You know what I mean? So there's that too. So I think all those kind of play in to whether you should go for the chip EV or the hourly. Myself, I lean towards the chip EV route, but also there's like how are your mass tabling skills? That's a thing as well. Some people are gifted multi-tablers where they can play a lot of tables and still think sharp, and some people simply are not. You're gonna have to audit yourself on that. I tried the mass tabling route; it didn't work. It wasn't working for me. Like I knew for a fact I was playing worse, and I tried it for a few seconds. I was like, this is not gonna happen. So for me, like the chip EV is actually more hourly than like going for like the hourly kind of. So it's like it's kind of like the same, like going for the highest chip EV or the most hourly. For me personally, it's kind of like the same thing. But if I was playing like 20s, I don't know what it would be like. You would try to find that happy medium where like your chippy V is high and your hourly is maximized, where it's like, I don't know where that would land. Maybe 3 or 4 tables. You know, for some people, they're like, maybe if you take it to an extreme, you're just like, I'm just gonna one table at 20s to maximize my chippy V. It might not be the best play because you're hurting your hourly too much. Or you might be like, oh, I'm gonna 8 table 20s to maximize my hourly, but then like you just start breaking even in the games, and you know, with like it just doesn't work. You gotta find that happy medium where you're like your chippy V is doing pretty good and your hourly is doing pretty strong, like that 3 or 4 table range. Maybe, you know, in a case like this, could work. You know, it really, you got to really just trial and error. I think everybody's got to trial and error, like where they're happy in that case. But like when it comes to moving up, what we were talking about originally, when it comes to like if you really, really have those aspirations to move up, we always recommend 2 tables and maximizing your chip EV, thinking through all the decisions because your goal is to move up. But if, let's say, moving up is out of the equation, for example, then I would say like probably I would say most people would land in that 3 to 4 table range where their chip EV is strong and their hourly is the strongest. Because like sometimes if you're chasing hourly too hard, all of a sudden your hourly gets hit to shit because you're just like, oh, if I 10 table, my hourly will be the best. But maybe not, you know, maybe not. You know, or if you're like going too far on the other end, again, like it comes to like, you know, you got to find that happy median where it's working. Your chip EV is strong, your hourly is strong, everything is there. So that's you know what I would recommend. I don't know if Scott, if you have anything to add or.
I don't. I think we covered it all there actually. Yeah, just like Jack said, trial and error. It all depends on your life situation, your personality, but yeah, the number one thing I would recommend to people would be try to keep your enjoyment of the game, because once something becomes your job,
that's a factor as well.
My dad always told me, you know, work is what you have to do, you know, and other things are what you want to do. And poker is a hobby until it becomes a job, and then it becomes a real job, and sometimes it weighs on your shoulders. So as much as you can keep that enjoyment, I would recommend that, to be honest.
Let's pause for 1 second and then we'll do a recap. So just to recap, what will be your final couple sentence recap here, Scotty? If you have to
final sentence recap.
It could be a few sentences, whatever. Just your final recap in general, whatever it may be.
If longevity and enjoyment and low variance is more congruent with your personality, focus on chippy B, lower your table count. If making money, minimizing the hours that you spend at the table, and the short term, or like, you know, you have short term bills that you need to pay, maximize your table count.
Or just have other things going on in life or whatever, and like. There's one person I can really think of in that situation, and he does exactly the same. He maximizes hourly, and like you know, so be it. Like, and it really depends. Like, there's not like a one size fits all answer. You know, it just depends on a lot of factors. Everyone's life is different. Everyone's personality is different. So you got to really audit yourself and just kind of understand like what is best for me, and you know, take it from there. And yeah, I think we can just wrap up right there. I think everyone watching this.
I'm gonna get a little nap in here, Mr. Jack.
Yeah. Sleep next to your buddy over there, on top of your money, on top of piles of cash over there. But yeah, so everyone watching this video should get a better idea of like what they should focus on moving forward. Hope that helps, and good luck to everybody. We'll see you guys in the next podcast. Cheers. Bye-bye.